Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. In this video, we're going to learn Apache Camel. What is Apache Camel? First, Camel stands for Concise Application Message Exchange Language. It is an integration framework based on enterprise integration patterns. In other words, it helps us integrate systems, applications, and data types. Let me show you also the architecture. So, in this architecture, as per the documentation, we have here a camel context. Inside this camel context, we have the route. Sorry about that. We have the route, engine, where we this engine actually executes the routes we define to basically it's like a controller to handle the process and routing, of course. Yeah. So yeah, basically we have the routes and the processor. Processor can be a message filter or content based router. Okay. So processor basically handles the logic and transformation. Yeah, this stuff. The it can also do some routing. Yeah, basically these are the things that routers do. Then we have also the components. I believe we our components comprises of I think we have more than 200 components. Like file, JMS, HTTP. These are the common components. We use these components to integrate with other systems. All right. So yeah, basically that's it. Let me show you an example to understand it further. Okay, I have here SpringBoot application. In this application, I will be integrating two APIs. Okay, so I have here one REST API. Okay, and this REST API I will be integrating with another REST API. Okay, using Apache Camel framework. All right, so let me show you first the dependency or the libraries that I'll be using for this demo. I'll be using the Spring Boot Camel Spring Boot starter. Yeah. Then to integrate the HTTP, we need this Camel HTTP starter dependency. Then since I'll be using a actually this one is not necessary, but I will show you later why will we can use also this servlet Camel servlet library or dependency. But for now, let's comment this out. We don't need. So for now, we use only these two dependency: Camel Spring Boot starter and Camel HTTP starter. All right. So once we added the required dependency, we can define our route. As you can see in our architecture, we need to define the route, right? So we will be defining it. I have here a when you define the route, you need to extend router builder. This class is provided by Apache library. Okay, in the core, the one I showed you earlier, this one, Spring Boot Camel Spring Boot starter. Okay, so once you define this, once you extend the router builder, you can we can define our route. Don't forget to, because we are using a Spring Boot application, of course, don't forget to use this at component annotation. Okay, so okay, so this is our the name of our route. Of course, you can specify any name you want here. For in this demo, I use my API route. So direct, because this endpoint I will be triggering using a REST. Later I'll show you how to trigger this, but for now, as I said, that we will be integrating two API 1 and API 2. So in this case, the API 1 is this. This is a third-party API. You can try this in your from your end. This is a public sample REST API. You can try this. So in my example, this is my API 1. So once I trigger, or I call this API 1, it will, of course, this API will return, and that whatever the result of this API, I will be passing it to API 2. All right. So that's why here I have processor here. I construct the parameter for API 2, which is this one. Then in this parameter, this is the parameter required by API 2. So in this parameter, I use the response from API 1, this one. This is actually the response from API 1. So we get the object and pass it to the parameter, which is required by API 2. Then here, before calling the API 2, this is our API 2. I set the required header. In this case, this is a REST, how you call this? The method we use here is post. Okay. Then the content type is JSON. So basically, this is will be converted by our framework into, from Java, will be converted to JSON, because the API 2 required JSON content type. Okay. All right. Then after that, that's it. So we can test this. This endpoint I will be triggering in our controller. I have controller here. See, here I define an endpoint as one. Then I use this producer template. This is provided by Apache Camel library, again from the core, this one. All right, so we'll be using this template, a producer template, to call the endpoint, the Camel endpoint that we defined in our route. Okay, so direct my API route. You see here, direct API. Of course, you can change this whatever name you want. Okay, but for demo purpose, I make it simple as this. Okay, so after calling this, sending message to this, you can put any logic here if you want, but for simplicity, I just log it, just display whatever the response, okay, or the message. Then whatever of course, if you send any message to this or you trigger this endpoint, it will return, right? It will go to this, whatever we define here. It will hit this endpoint, this API. We call this API. Then API will return a result. That result we will pass to this parameter object, which is required by API 2. And whatever the result of this API 2, we will be returned to this, because we call this, right? So the final result will be returned here. Okay, so we expect the result here. All right, so let's run this. Let's clear my console. So I will be using curl to test our simple application. Localhost 8080. So now in this example, I define test1 endpoint. So we use test1. All right. So what we expect here? In this test1, we call this endpoint Camel endpoint. So it will go here. Here. Then this endpoint will call API 1. Okay, then we have processor. This is our processor to prepare the parameter for API 2. Okay, then the final result will be returned by our endpoint. Okay, so this is how we integrate the APA1 and APA2. All right, so let's run it. Okay, so this is the final result. Okay, so now I will be introducing again, I will be introducing another endpoint. This time I will not use the controller, I will not use this. So this time I will be using Camel. I will create an endpoint. We call this let's say REST API. Okay, yeah, this one. So I introduce here a caller API. Okay, so this is our caller API, or let's make it let's call it integrator API. Okay, or integrated API. Okay, so this integrated API, this is our Camel. We will not be using controller, this is specific to Camel only. Okay, so this endpoint, REST endpoint, this is a REST endpoint now. We'll be calling this direct API 1. Oh, okay, this one we will be calling this. So okay, this is the route to integrate the, because we need a trigger, right? So this is our trigger. So we will call this REST API, and this REST API will will be routed to this how you call this endpoint, direct endpoint. This is called direct endpoint here. All right, then this direct endpoint will call API 1. Then this processor will process, will basically get the response from API 1, which is this one. This is the response. The response will be converted to uppercase. Then we pass this response to our parameter object. This parameter object we will be needing to our API 2. This is required by our API 2. Okay, then here we only set the header. All right, so let's test this out. Oh, there we get some error here. I forgot to include the, because in this for this one we use REST. We define a REST endpoint, right? Because we don't want to use a controller. This one is controller, the endpoint from our controllers. So this one we can also create an endpoint using Camel library. Okay, that's why I have here REST. So instead of using this endpoint as one, which is provided, which is specific to SpringBoot, I will be using another endpoint, a new endpoint, which is this one. Maybe we can call it yeah, we call it integrated API. This is specific to REST Camel library. Okay, so for this one, for REST and for REST Camel API, or how you call this, for this library or method, should I say method, we require a library. Okay, that's why in our form we need a servlet. This one, Camel SpringBoot. No, this one, starter, this one. So we need camel servlet starter for this REST method. Okay, so this line will just create an endpoint which is equivalent to test1. As I said earlier, this endpoint is specific to Spring Boot. We have an alternative. We can also create an endpoint using Camel, which is this REST, then the name of the whatever endpoint we want. Then yeah, the rest will be the same. Okay, let's run this. I think so. This time, let's clear this first. This time, instead of calling test1, we will call camel. I think I need some. We have some error about this. We have some error here. Camel. Start there. I'm sorry about this. I think there's something wrong with our name. But let's simplify this. Let's call it I mean this. Let's call this let's say test2. Alright, let me run again. My API route. I'm sorry about that. I think we have that's for simplicity. Let's sorry. Let's go here. Sorry about this. Let's change this to I think this is something to do with the library. Again. I'm sorry about this. Apache maybe let's run this again. I think this is a library issue, so let me compile it. Let me rebuild it. Okay. Alright. Oh my gosh. Failed to create the route to my API test2 because of no endpoint could be found. Plus path contains the camel jar. Anyway, I think we don't have time anymore, and I think this is another issue. But for this demo, I just want to show you. Let's forget about this endpoint. Okay. So for now, we will be triggering this using our uh, how you call this endpoint. Okay, this one using a controller, SpringBoot controller. Okay, so again, let me run it. Okay, that's one. Alright, so that's it. So as I said earlier, uh, using the producer template, which is provided by the Camel library, Apache Camel library, this one producer template, we trigger, or we call this Camel direct endpoint. Okay, this Camel direct endpoint, we define it here in our router Camel config class, extending router builder. All right, so this is the endpoint we define, we call in our less controller. Okay, then this direct endpoint will basically call API1. This API1 will return something, and whatever the result, we pass to this param object. This param object is required by our parameter 2, our API 2 rather. Okay, that's it. Then this is how we integrate API 1 and API 2. All right, so to trigger this, we use a REST controller, which we define here, test 1. That's why when we can test it here by calling this endpoint test 1. All right, again, thank you very much for watching this video, guys. Hope you enjoy this video. Until next time, peace. Bye bye.